Shema Yasharallah Yahweh Allah Yahweh Yahweh Achad. Shema Yasharallah Yahweh Allah Yahweh Yahweh Achad. Shema Yasharallah Yahweh Allah Yahweh Yahweh Achad. Barakat Yahweh, Barakat Yahweh Shai, Barakat Yahweh, Barakat Yahweh Shai, Barakat Yahweh, Barakat Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Hakodash. I want to give double honors to our elder apostles, elder bishops of Great Millstone Ruel, as well as peace and blessings, health and wellness to the house of David the elect. I'm Zahab, spirit wind lawyer. And today I want to go into a topic. Today I want to go into a topic entitled, you have to adjust your default settings. All right, you have to adjust your default settings for Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. You have to adjust your default settings for salvation. I feel like I'm walking in the wrong direction. I'm gonna go this way. You have to adjust your defaults. What do I mean by default settings, man? If you have a system, a software program that you install, all right, and you go into your configurations, all right, you will see that there's a default settings. Some of you brothers are producers, you made beats, all right, or you just deal with certain software programs on your everyday tablets, or your laptops, your computers, and you will go into the configurations, all right, there's a default setting, whether it's like a sound configuration, all right, nonetheless, you make those adjustments, all right, but there's a configuration select that came with that software program. Hey, Shalom, Shalom. Hey, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Hakodash, Barakatham. All right, to you Akim, to you Akwat, before I tune again to this live stream. All right. Once again, you have your software program, all right. When you download a software program, when you have a computer and you're dealing with systems, you have a default system, a default program that came with that software program. But it's up to you to make those adjustments. All right. Factory settings, okay? The settings that came along with this particular program. But it's up to the consumer to adjust it based off its environment, based upon his own liking. All right. Well, we were manufactured by Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, and we have a default settings, all right, based off how we were raised, based off your nature as an individual. Some will go into the zodiac signs and the life path numbers, and it would determine certain dispositions you would have in this world. Also, like I said, your personal upbringing, based off how your environment shifted, your reaction to certain things. Well, when you come into this truth, that made up your default settings, man. Okay? That made up your default settings when you came into this truth. All right? And what we have to realize is, going back to, I think it's the book of Proverbs, if a brother could put it on the comment board, there's a way that seems right to a man, but ultimately it's destruction. Chopping it up, and that's my bad. But there's a way that seems right to a man because you have a reality inside your mind. And without me getting all deep, but there's a default you. And what's humbling is that it's out of alignment with who you're supposed to be in this truth. All right? And all because something feels second nature, all because something feels, all right, second nature, that doesn't mean that that's your accurate reaction. The water, brother, because I was chopping it up. All right, Proverbs 14:12. There is a way which seemeth right unto a man. There is a way, the water's a coin. There is a way which seemeth right to a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. Proverbs 14:12. There is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. All right, if the water be a spirit, Ak of Judah 2011. You know you're a Levite, brother. But that's your default setting, and we all have it, and that's It's a beautiful thing to be able to see your spirit in third person, man. All right, it's a beautiful because it's part of growth, part of transcending the old you. That's another American, the another trending word that these Babylonians have adopted. But I like the word too. You're transcending. But when you transcend the old you and when you evolve, you realize that the default you is out of alignment with the course. It's out of alignment. And if you know what happens when you need an alignment, right? You're driving, you let your steering wheel go, and it steers to the left or to the right. So you have to realign yourself. All right. But going back to your default, man. You have to adjust your default settings, man. Okay. And this is something that's on my spirit for a little while, you know. But I'll give you another example. When you buy a car, right, and you got the factory tires, right? All right, now the tires may be regular tires, but guess what? You might stay on the East Coast where if it rains or if it snows and it freezes over, well, your factory tires is not sufficient for the road conditions in your environment. But when they make these factory tires, it is general production. But so you, as the consumer, might have to replace those factory tires with tires that have better treading, it's more suitable for the slippery road conditions, which is an example of the factory settings. All right, in this case, the factory settings, it wasn't enough. The default wasn't enough. And you're going to find out that you have a way about yourself, and I have a way about myself by default that's not conducive to this truth. And at some point, you're going to be challenged, man. All right? It might be second nature to just at a woman and you start talking and you got this creative, charismatic, but was not in your default settings is to see if she had a man, see if she was married. That's not the default you. The default you just go with the flow. But it seems second nature to just go. Especially if that was your nigger trait in the world, you know? So you're going to learn in this truth that you have to adjust, reconfigure your default settings for Yahweh Bahasham Shai. All right? Going even with martial arts, right? If somebody would have, throw a punch at you, right? Throw a jab at you, your natural default reaction is to do some little weird shit, right? Like, but through practice, you practice a proper defense system, all right, that'll sufficiently protect you, all right? But your natural second nature reaction is just some sloppy shit, man. All right, so that's something that we have to come to terms with. All right, you might hear certain orders, brothers might tell you certain things, and that's just the nigga in you reacting. That's just the default you, man. That's the dude that grew up in America. All right, most people who are crash outs, most people who are however you want to put it, they had some type of traumas and they created some type of reaction that was built off survival, but that doesn't mean that reaction will keep them in a free world, or it won't. That doesn't mean that their reaction won't stunt their growth as a person. All right, let me get the scripture from Via Spirit 7, 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if any man be in Hamashiach, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. Because I've heard brothers say, well, that's just how I was raised. That is how I was raised. And, I ain't had my dad. Or whatever, I used to get beat till I was 17 or some shit. Well, okay, that created a reaction. But now you have to reconfigure based off this book of wisdom. Because now you got to filter that out through the laws, statutes, and commandments. All right? And we all have this chink in our armor, all right? There's sometimes, in all sincerity, it's based off that your second nature, man. But when it comes to elevation in this truth, you have to adjust. You know, when it comes to this truth, you have to adjust, man. Okay? Hey, via Spirit 7 in this truth, as we grow our taste and approach when it comes to women changes, you don't accept the behavior as the old man would. And that's right, man. At this point in my life, I value peace over a lot, man. And as soon as Jake, oh, you might meet a woman, man, and as soon as you hear that nigga energy coming out of them, or you hear some toxicity, it's like, psh, why even deal with it, man? Why even deal with it? I really see peace is the prize. I'm not saying brothers are monks, you know, brothers are eunuchs, but a lot of women just can't make it in our world, man. You know, I bet, you know, and I wasn't really old enough to experience this because I came into this truth relatively young. But I know a lot of Jakes probably, they burnt one with Keisha, you know, they smoked one with Keisha, you know, got high. Might have just sat there and got drunk, you know, let Keisha get in her zone. But no, a lot of Jake ain't trying to even act like that to be around Keisha, man. You know, I'm not finna act like a YN to get what I need to get from between your legs, man. It ain't really. Some women, they figure it out when you done with them, like he's no fun. They figure it out when you let them out the apartment, like, damn, I thought we was gonna do this and do that. Like, no, I don't have to do all that. But the point is, that's a beautiful thing, man. Your taste in women change, man. All right, because one thing you realize, our women can be naked, bro. You know, all women, they can all do that. But it's the intangibles. They're just facts. But the point, going back to that point, that second nature, that has to be checked. And sometimes the world is reacting a certain way because you're moving in the state of that default. And you might be blind to it because you're in it. You see? But one thing that's a form of mercy, I would say, is that when you can see it in third person, like, damn, that's my problem. Okay. When everything is all good, when I'm back in a state of normalcy, or I'm not in a state of survival, I'm just kind of lackadaisical, and you know, it's when it's really time for you to have more of an edge, be more assertive. You know, you got to step outside of your, like I said, default you, and initially it feels like an attack on your spirit. All right. And when then something happens and shake you up, it'll get you out this state, man. All right, 1 Corinthians 13 and 11. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. All right? And a child just reacts off the dominant feeling in their body at that moment. That's why a child could go from angry to happy to sad, all within the matter of a few minutes. As well as women, they go from angry to happy because they're reacting over. They're acting based off the current emotion. But us as men, all right, but us as men and men of the Lord, men of Yahweh Bahashem Shai, all because we have a present feeling, that don't mean that we react off that present feeling, man. You see? Oh yeah, but like the brother said, via Spirit 7, the Lord is making us into valuable men. That's right. We're the elite. If you look up the word elect, I want to say like in a free dictionary, one of those definitions goes back to elite. All right. You know, but it was just something on my spirit All right? And then, through the Spirit, we can shift to other topics. All right, because what's going on in Israel, all right, as time progresses, Satan is throwing all types of wows at us, all right, because he knows we're at the end. He knows that we're at the end, man. So he's throwing all type of darts at us, man. All types of temptations, man. All right, whether it's domestic situation, internal, our own lust, our own desires. But a lot of us don't understand that things that we thought might have been like a blessing, or, you thought it was a brownie, it could have been a Trojan horse from Satan, man. And we have to put ourselves in a forward motion, or put ourselves in a forward motion for Yahweh Bahasham Shai. A lot of us are not ready to get off that grid. We're not ready to just walk by faith. We're not ready to lose our jobs. We're not ready to not take the charagma. You're not ready to not know where your meal is going to be the next day or 3 days, all while you have children. We're not ready to be Job. We're not ready. We're not ready to be Job, man. You see? We're not ready to deal with our wife and be in the spirit of Job and check our woman, because we have to have faith and we got to shut the woman up, man. 1 Peter 5:8, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walked about seeking whom he may devour. Okay? So we have to be vigilant and know that everything that we go through is in the hands of Yahweh Bahasham Shai. All right? Everything that we go through is in the hands of Yahweh Bahasham Shai. So you don't have to step outside of your plate. You don't have to step outside of the your lot, and step outside of the bread that's sufficient for you, that go and handle something over here, because you can only focus on one thing at a time. You can only serve one God. All right? You can serve Yahweh Bahasham Shai, or you can serve Mammon. Okay? And truth be told, we need each other, man. All right? We need each other, man. Every day you in Babylon, it takes something from you. Every day you didn't, tap into the videos, you didn't read, it's taking something from you. Even if you are reading and watching videos, all right? Even if you are reading, if you're not around the brothers, it's taking something from you, man. That's why when you do a lesson with the Akim, you feel better. All right? You go out on the highways with the Akim, it's like, life came back into you. Why do you feel like life came back into you? Because Babylon took that much from you, man. All right? Hey, Shalom, Yahweh. Psalms 91:2. I will say of Yahweh, he is my refuge and my fortress. My power, in him will I trust. All right, Micah 2:10. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you even with the sword destruction. But one thing I'm learning is, going back, it just hit my spirit again. Be ready to understand that your natural self is not accurate. Your natural configuration, your natural factory settings, your natural is not enough, man. You're gonna have to adjust. You're gonna have to change those tires for the condition you're in. All right, you're gonna have to let your seat back. All right, turn the radio station on to the right frequency. Sometimes you pull that car out the lot, and whoever was, doing a little service routine, they had it on their station. Now turn that bullshit off and put it on the right frequency. Make the adjustments for the journey. Who you are is not enough. Now, from a spiritual perspective, when it comes to women and all, who you are is enough. But when it comes to this truth and Yahweh Bahasham Shai, be ready to be corrected. Be ready to be rebuked. But we got to pray to Yahweh Bahasham Shai that he puts it on our spirit to accept it and understand this is growth. a few brothers telling you the same thing, man. That shit, how about Shmuel Shai? Did he not send prophets to his men in the ancient world? He sent prophets to men in the ancient world. He sent prophets to kings. How much, if he sent prophets to kings, and they may have told the king what he didn't want to hear, all right, you don't think he's going to tell us? But that's part of the system to keep us in the fold, man. We're like sheep to Satan, man. We can't battle Satan. But one hyper weakness of a sheep is solitude. All right? I hate to keep going back, but it's just a spirit. One weakness of the sheep is solitude. That's one vulnerable. Well, see, when the sheep are amongst other sheep, they're pretty good. But when that sheep steers off, man, that's when the wolves, they figure, man, I got them. You know? Man, it's hard being in this truth, man. It's hard staying woke. You know? But it's harder when you're alone, man. And all because you got ways about yourself, all right? Sometimes your strength is your weakness. And all because, like I said, it's your natural disposition, where now you're in a space, in a position where now you got to make the adjustments, man. You know? You got, brothers might literally be in the woods. 5, 6 deep in the woods, 10 deep, 3, 4 deep. And we all understand we just going to go in a certain direction because Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua got us. So you can't be the brother. They got to go back to the city. All right? They got to go back to the city and try to figure some shit out, man. Fuck. Come on, man. All right? And look, I'm not a brother. They got a halo hope in my head. Like, I just got it all figured out. But the spirit is on me to get this on point, man. To get this out on wax, man. One thing I love is the Akim, man. The brothers. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Shai, y'all empower me, man. And brothers in the camp, man, some of the hardest times in my life in this truth has been cushioned because certain days out the week, well, for one, I would teach and have fellowship, but then you'll be over a brother's house and do a lesson, and the brother just treat you with such hospitality. It's like, man, I'm elevated for a few hours. Like, I'm good. You know? Let me get these scriptures. Romans 8:18. For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. And you have certain prophets who are, what do you call it? Like powerful prophets that can hold down a city by themselves until the Yahweh Bahashem Shai gives them fruit. But that ain't your thing. That ain't for every prophet. You don't willingly do that. You don't neglect a camp and do that, man. You know, because that wasn't your lot. Ark of Judah 20:11. All right, Ecclesiastes 4:12. If one prevail against him, 2 shall withstand him, and a threefold cord is not a threefold. I read that again. And a threefold cord is not quickly broken. Yeah. So when you got 2, 3 brothers together, man, it's hard to conquer them, man. You know? Sometimes you weak in the world. Sometimes you weak around your woman. Sometimes your spirit is vulnerable at work. You just feel like, you know, you're like a prey. It's like you don't even have the power to really, you know, have a kickback, you know, to stand up, man. But when you be around the brothers and y'all teaching, y'all bring the word out, then brothers turn around, love on you, man. You ready to go back into a world with a higher self-esteem, man. Like the program in America is that the Israelite ain't shit. So you gotta live in that mindset. You gotta live in that narrative until you go to ship Nebuchadnezzar outside the matrix. All right, and you outside the matrix, and it's like, man, this is peace. I'm on the highways and the byways, and nobody is really crowding around us. But this is medicine for me. This is my therapy when I'm teaching. You know, a brother teaching, you bringing out scriptures, then the spirit hop on you and the brother. But you can't do that when you by yourself, man. So don't choose to be by yourself. That's a demon. You know, you know, every brother looks good when he's shadow boxing. Jake give his own sound effects when he's shadow boxing. But who are you in a real battle, man? It's one thing to curse out Esau Edom, but you can't. What about his spiritual counterpart? Man, you can't deal. Ak of Judah 2011, Mark 6 and 7. And he called unto him the 12 and began to send them forth by two and two, and gave them power over unclean spirits. And he sent them forth two by two. You know, I can't imagine going out to teach by myself. And like I said, you have men of the Lord who taught 6-7 months by themselves, a year 2 years by themselves, and then they began to get fruit. But you know, and the Most High gotta be with you, and that's not for every brother. Now, sometimes you might get tested, and you gotta teach by yourself, man. You know, that's just a test. You might have got suspended or whatever may have happened. All right. But if you don't have to do that, man, don't do that, man. But one of the same strategies is to get you away from the sheep. And we ain't number sheep, man. We can't battle America. We can't battle the course of sin. We can't battle this shit. Your flesh is hardwired to be in sync with America. You know? Sometimes you reading the scriptures by itself ain't enough. Because you ain't doing nothing but reading this to tell yourself you read for the day. So sometimes you're not even in that spirit to just eat the book, you know? But when you get around the brothers and you teaching it, empower you to be in the spirit when you go back and read. Proverbs 27 and 17. Iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend. All right? And Babylon, because it's people here not to trust. It's people that you can't trust in Babylon. All right, your upbringing, you know, the scripture says, you know, trust not every neighbor. You know, thy habitation is full of deceit. But you'll bring that mentality here, and now you're alone amongst the brethren. Like, nah, Yahweh Bahashmal Shai ain't set this up for you to be a loner amongst the brethren. You might be a loner at work. I go to my car and eat, you know, in most cases. But you can't be the loner around the brethren. That's the real you. You know, even if you are an elder and you don't want to be, you know, just fraternizing amongst brothers who newly came in. Okay, cool. But there has to be other elders that you could open up to, man. It's good for your spiritual health. You know, they talk about mental health in Babylon, but truth be told, it's really a thing. Exercising is good for your mental health. Journaling, writing, but also having a brother come over, y'all might do a lesson, watch a game, or watch a movie, man. But don't you feel better when you leave? You know, it's the brotherhood that brings the scriptures to life. How can you practice let brotherly love continue if you ain't around the brothers? You know, how can you practice being charitable? How can you practice loving one another or forgiving one another? How can you practice not holding a grudge and pulling a brother to the side and just speaking? How can you practice your Yahushai if you ain't got men to practice your Yahushai with, man? You know? Just imagine fucking up and nobody's there to like check you, bro. Like nobody's there to be, hey, bro. You know? But let me like bring this to a closing. You know, we gotta fight, man. You know, this gets demons off you when you this gets demons off you when you do videos. You get demons off you, man. When you read it, they get demons off when you go to camp. And I know that sometimes whatever the demon don't want you to do, that's what you should. Hey, why do you have a Bahashmal Shai? Sometimes the thing you're supposed to do, pursuing, what's that, Romans 7? Something inside you is like pulling you from that. That's the thing you're supposed to do. You know? Sweating this shit. 1 second, Naki. Yeah, but the thing that you're supposed to do, there's something pulling you from doing it. That's what you're supposed to do. Even certain brothers or elders, you gotta report a call, and a demon might be like, man, you don't want to bother them. You don't want to, you know, like, nah, you got to hit them up, man. You know, knowing thyself, and that's a journey within itself. Like knowing these different devices that's going on inside you, these different mechanisms, and discerning, like, okay, is this the spirit? Is this a demon? Is this my flesh? My ego? You know? And look at what, and whatever that impulse drives you to do, then you study that outcome and you can determine what the source was, man. But that's something that we learn through experience. You know? You like you don't have to speak your intrusive thoughts all the time. You have brothers that offended because they'll say that the words that came to their mind, they'll say it to a brother, and like, damn, that was some asshole shit. You know, that was an asshole shit. But you can clearly see, like, bro, it's a demon talking to you, bro. You know, just brothers that you've encountered or dealt with in the past, it's no longer, it's like, bro, he just said some condescending shit, like, but it's a demon, man. You got a voice in your head, and you say what they would call an intrusive thought, and you actually speak. When the scripture said, a wise man hold his tongue, man. You know, some brothers were so caught on being perceived as dominant or have this bravado or alpha that they forgot to react through Yahushua. You see, they forgot to respond based off the scriptures, because they thought it was the highest level to respond like a nigga, man. You know, the Most High ain't with that carnal shit, man. And some of those brothers got their ass whooped, you know. Some of those brothers got dog walked, you know, because they was, hey, the scripture said, go not in the way with a bold fellow. You know, it's one thing to get persecuted or get jumped for Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, but it's another thing to go off your default settings of being this alpha or this the red Power Ranger, Chuck Norris, all right, and you go get your ass whooped because you have drunk and you around some YN, and yeah, you know. But the scripture says the prudent man, all right, look at a prudent man foresee the evil and hide himself. The scripture says, go not in a way where thou mayest fall. You know? The power is in you having an ability to defend yourself, and you foreseeing bullshit and avoiding bullshit. All right? You know? And do we fuck up? Yes, we fuck up. Do you regress to the old you, or do you make poor decisions? Yes, but you learn from it. Because a wise man once said, the sin wasn't in the mistake. The sin was not learning from your mistakes. All right? You know? And that's just something, like I said, you learn in its truth and through experience and through the mercy of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, that your factory settings is not enough, man. If your government name is Michael, if your government name is Robert, well, the way of Robert is not enough. The way of Michael is not enough. You're going to have to configure it based off the systems of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. All right? If your government name is Amanda, Deshana, Hey man, Deshauna has she's going to react a certain way based off her manufacturing in Babylon. But she has to be filtered through Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. You might want to talk over your husband. Stop talking over your fucking husband, man. Stop talking over him, man. Stop taking the initiative and say we gonna do this and do that. Let him say, babe, what you think we should do? You know? All because Jake don't voice it all the time, that don't mean he doesn't feel like you irritate him. Like, come on, man. Jake already doesn't feel masculine when they go and leave the house, but they gotta at least feel masculine around you. You know? Sometimes you know, Jake might be kind of laid back or kind of passive, but you know how you're supposed to be as a woman. So you might say, hey babe, what you think it is? Hey, what you know, you set that tone, confidence, you know, initiative. Take that more of initiative on things, man. You know, because Keisha coming with the big mama energy, man. You know, like Monique just yelling at what's that swole Jake name? That 60-year-old swole Jake. Yeah, he got that Shannon Sharp. Yeah, like Monique yelling at Shannon Sharp. She got that big mama spirit, man. Mama knows best, don't she? Well, let me get the scripture. Let me get this stop sign. Then I'm gonna get the scripture. You know what? As a matter of fact, I'm just gonna wait till I pull up to my location. I know that Apostle Hart was speaking on like not reading and driving. So when I pull up to my location, which is a few minutes, then I get the scriptures to close it out with. And Tawada Akim for tuning in. And you're gonna realize, bro, demons don't want you to take your medicine. It's certain videos that pop up and the title will cut you, and then you don't be want to watch the video. Now watch the video. Cause it's like a child and you putting spinach in front of him or something moving around in you. You know? Or you in a rebuke, you in a rebuke or a counsel, and now your mouth drying up. You trying to figure out why your mouth drying up and your lips. Yeah, I saw that. I lost connection when I said that, man. And not even knowing you messing up, but when the demons get called out, like these weird reactions happen to you, man. You know? But this is medicine, man. This is therapy for me to do this lesson. But it's therapy for the Akim, man. To build while we're doing this lesson, while I'm doing this lesson, you see, through the spirit. Because I'm just a vessel. You know? You know? So it's a fight, man. It's a fight to overcome your biggest demon, which is you. The biggest enemy is yourself. Elder Apostle Gabar said that. And I see even more clearly what that means. Because you have a natural way that's inconsistent with Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, but it's second nature to you. You know? And like I said, that way may have been forged from a genuine place. You know? A solitary spirit. Maybe you grew up poor. Maybe you had to be the go-getter. So now you got this go-getter spirit. The go-getter spirit is knocking you out of the spirit, man. So you got to find your balance with that, man. You know? Maybe you a simp. You know, maybe you just fall in love quick. I'm not going to say you a simp, but maybe you know how it is, you're tender. You fall in love quick, and the reality is you won't give yourself no boundaries. You know? We all got ways that we came in this world with. You know, you let your woman run you, you know, like, but your default self is stuck on high school mode when it comes to women. Your default self is stuck on high school mode. So now you gotta say like, damn, I ain't like shit. How do I counter? How do I keep me from being this person with women? So now you figure, okay, if I'm naturally this way, I gotta have hard standards. If I'm kind of soft, then my boundaries gotta be hard. You gotta be real with yourself. If I know, okay, I'm gonna catch feelings, I know I'm gonna do. I gotta have, okay, she got Keisha energy. All right, that's a no-go. All right, she got all them kids. That's a no-go. She kind of ratchet. You just gotta be hard with your standards. You know, I'm not telling brothers how to deal with women, but I'm naming different default settings that I believe brothers have that I've experienced and I had to deal with. Because you gotta, once you figure out the problem, you gotta come up with a solution through the spirit. Okay, I got an anger problem. Why the fuck do I got an anger problem? You know? But maybe you don't exercise, maybe you don't hit the gym, maybe you angry about some shit. I mean, we're not here to be therapists like that, but you got to figure it out. You know, what's the preventive measure from keeping me to just keep crashing like that? You know, just why am I always depressed? Okay, I have abandonment issues. I was abandoned when I was little, but now it's showing up this way. But how do I fix that through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai? Sometimes brothers don't have the answer for you, but it's the presence of the brothers that made you stronger. It's the presence of the brothers that made you more confident in this world. And it's not so much the presence of the brothers, it's the presence of Yahushai through those brothers. Just constantly being amongst the body that healed you from the demons and that mindset, that wounded person that came from Babylon. You know? You know? I'm pulling into my destination. So I'm going to get ready to get the scriptures. And demons fuck with us, man. They fuck with our thoughts. You know? Our health. You know, brothers take the best herbs and got a good regimen and they're consistent. And demons fuck with us still, man. Throw it in the flesh. You know? Let me get these scriptures. Proverbs 24:16. For a just man falleth 7 times and riseth up again, but the wicked shall fall into mischief. All right. He that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. All right. Wisdom of Solomon 16:12. Hey, Shalom. And that was Yahushua is coming back and his GMS dedication. Wisdom of Solomon 16:12. For it was neither herb nor mollifying plaster that restored them to health, but thy word, O Yahweh, which healeth all things. All right, and sometimes that word becomes powerful when brothers are around you bringing it out. You know? The popular guys didn't make it in Great Millstone. All right, do you have genuine, noteworthy brothers that are renowned in the body and they just people... They got, you know, brothers know them, brothers and sisters, yeah. But the popular guys prior, they didn't make it, man. All right, the guy that was the Eddie Ruffin of the camp, he didn't make it. We thought it was gonna make it, we just knew it, but he didn't. You know. Psalm 14:5. Let not the righteous smite me. I'm sorry, let the righteous smite me. It should be a kindness, and let him reprove me. It should be an excellent oil, which shall not break my head, for yet my prayer also should be in their calamities. All right? And we learning what love is, man. We learning what brotherly love is. For a brother to call you and tell you where you fucking up at, man, it's a beautiful thing, man. And like I said, we've been so bitched out, man. We've been so Keisha'd out. Raised by Big Mama or you just think you this guy that has it. You don't have it, man. And it's okay to not be perceived as a guy that has it, even when you used to being looked at as the guy that had it. It's okay to accept that brothers see your flaws, man. Like especially brothers as elders and stuff. It's okay for them to see that. because the Spirit allowed them to see that to help you, man. And brothers still respect you, you know. But we can't have the I got it spirit. Like, let me handle this. Let me figure it out. Like, no. You know, who you are in this truth is not enough. What I mean by that, your default mentality, your factory setting mindset is not enough, man. You have to make the adjustments. You got to turn some knobs up and put some knobs down. Turn the volume up, turn the microphone volume up, but turn the speaker volume down, so to speak, man. Turn the emotions down and turn the wisdom up. You know? But the water for the scriptures, the water for tuning in, all right? You have to adjust your factory settings, man. You know what I'm saying? And just think about how brother can step out his normalcy, step out his really comfort zone sometimes, and just call you and just tell you. That's love. Who else doing that, man? Coworkers, if you knew what your coworkers are saying about your back, you wouldn't smile in their face when you see them the next day. I saw that on a Facebook post. Like, if you knew what the world was whispering about your ass, you wouldn't even make light conversation with them. The average nigga wants your girl. The average man in the world wants your woman. Them friendly ass niggas, they want you. Can't trust these motherfuckers, man. All right? The average woman gonna leave you. Most women, you got wives that the Most High sent you, and then you got bitches you fuck with. You know? And most of these little they gonna leave, even if the vibe cool and it's like, bro, I'm gonna tell you, she's not gonna make it. Most little chicks they not gonna make it. You know? Just a disclaimer, movie spoiler. You know? We all we got. You know? But that's the point, Akim. I really don't want to end the live stream. This is one of them lessons you just want to keep running, but I'm not going to, hey, the water for tuning in. Hey, once again, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem HaKodash. I also want to give double honors to our elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well, as well as peace and blessings, health and wellness to the house of David the elect, Abba Baal, Kam Yashala, Shalom.